has bird flu jumped to people? Fresh pandemic fears as 12 more are suspected of being infected in Cambodia. In same province, girl 11 died from virus this week. It's got a 60% mortality rate, by the way. So if this really does start to spread and people don't, it's a flu though. So here's the thing. It's not going to spread like COVID would because COVID was novel. People have some partial flu immunity already, so it wouldn't be as bad, but it would be very, very bad. And then I want to show you this tweet from Clay Travis. He wrote, last January, 60% of Democrats wanted to lock everyone who didn't get the COVID shot in their houses. Over 40% of Democrats wanted those who rejected the COVID shot sent into quarantine camps. Over 40% also wanted anyone who criticized the COVID shot fined and imprisoned. Over a quarter wanted those who didn't get the COVID shot to have their kids seized. Now they're trying to pretend none of this ever happened. There must be consequences. So take a look at this polling from Rasmussen. Fine and imprisoned critics of vaccine. 45, it's almost 50% actually. That's amazing. So as we move into avian flu pandemic season, potentially, just keep in mind what they have in store.
What's the immunity like at Cambodia? I mean, do they have vaccines? Are they a healthy culture? I don't know enough about Cambodia.
No idea.
That
jungle.
Would make
There's
sense.
A lot of jungle there.
Yeah, it would make sense why it'd be a higher fatality rate if there's...
Well, the fatality rate is just in general. There's been instances where avian flu H5N1 has infected people all over the world.
All over the world, okay.
Yeah, and of the cases they've tracked, it's like between 40 and 60%. So some studies have said it's like 42, some have said 50, some odd, and they round up to like 60 and so on.
I don't believe it. I'll believe the data later. They told me too many times that people died with COVID, and they said that it was from COVID when it was with COVID, and they died of something else. I don't believe these numbers until I see absolute proof 80 different times from 80 different sources.
Ian, you're supposed to be scared and then panic. That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. I think that's the intention of these flash in the pan. Like, how many people took that poll? They said all those Democrats wanted to lock people down was like 4,000 people. And they targeted people in specific cities. Like, I don't believe it. Well,
I think Rasmussen actually does a pretty good job on their polling.
Do they have a number of how many?
And I mean, I'm looking at a graphic from Rasmussen. I'm looking at the actual full survey.
Let me really freak you out, Ian. They'll try and hit you with all this fear porn 24/7, and then they'll tell you not to be afraid of nuclear war. They'll tell you that you can actually have a preemptive nuclear strike and Russia won't respond. They'll just lie through their teeth about that stuff. But then when it comes to this stuff, which I agree with you probably shouldn't be that afraid of, then they overblow it. It's fascinating how they really do manipulate our psyche when it comes to these
because
things.
they want support for the war, and then they want support for the lockdowns.
Bingo.
Yep.
So the question is not whether Democrats want to lock you up. I think this poll wouldn't surprise me. We know during the lockdowns, all the Democrat states were like, lock it all down, lock everyone in their house. The question is the avian flu actually a threat to us, or is the media and government's looking for something to scare people to gain more power?
It is scary. The fact that 60% is a big number. That's more than half your family can die from it. And that scares people initially. So I think it's a way to more look for power. We don't know how much it's going to spread. We don't know what our immunity.
They were doing gain of function research on it in 2014
were.
to make it transmissible among mammals.
So if we look at this objectively and think, okay, there's like maybe every 100 years we would get a pandemic, right? That's what the statistic was. So that was the big joke, is that, 2020, we're going to have a pandemic because we had the flu of 1918. And, every 100 years we're going to get one. Now we've had COVID, and then they were like, oh my God, now it's going to be the monkeypox. They're like, oh my God, now it's going to be the avian flu. And all these new pandemic potentials keep popping up. And then there's gain of function on top of it. So can you objectively sit there and think, is our government not involved in this? Like, is this just happening organically?
A serious country would have already imprisoned everyone responsible for the gain of function research. That's my honest opinion. And until you see something like that happen, until you see a presidential candidate who's running on that, and Trump, for the record, you want him to have a redemption arc, in my eyes, he runs on that. He says, I am going to get to the bottom and I will imprison forever anyone responsible.
He needs to say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this and I don't care who's at the top.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to say.
Well,
that's clever. Let's do it.
If the Republicans took the Senate, Rand Paul would have headed the health committee that would have done that. But no, we have Fetterman and...
No, well, not anymore. He's in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, he's there.
He was never there anyways.
Who's running the health committee now?
Look, you say like a serious country, which is something about it. I don't know if there's ever been a serious country that would target its own elites other than to sacrifice them to save themselves.
Maybe